6:36. We're starting a little late, but that's okay. We are holding this on the Zoom as well as in the Village Hall. And the Zoom link is top of the agenda. We have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, then, we have public appearances. This is public's opportunity to speak. We also do have a public hearing portion related to the lift station, so you can pick your poison as far as when you want to speak there. So with that, we'll open it up for those who wish to speak in either general topics. If it's related to the lift station, then we'll hold those till then. So,
could you speak into the mic, please?
oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Let me pull it towards me too. So with that, we do have a few folks that wish to speak in regards to Lakewood. This is the proposed development off of Taylor Road there. Tina, I can't see, McFadden. Thank you, Tina.
Yes, I just wanted to express my concern about the
Name and
proposed-
address, please, for
Name
the
and
record.
address, sure.
Thank you.
It's Tina McFadden, 100 Heather Drive, Cottage Grove, Wisconsin. I'm very concerned about the proposed development of Lakewood off of Ridge Road, and my reasons being is that for one, Taylor, they wanted to do a development like this back in 2007, and it never went through because they had to have an extra out to Cottage Grove Road to BB, because Taylor cannot handle all of the traffic that the 491 homes would cause. You have to times that by two cars for, like, let's just say an extra 1,000 cars would be coming down Taylor. So there needs to be another way to Cottage Grove Road. And another thing is our schools are already at capacity. So where are you going to put an extra 1,000 kids? Two kids per household on an estimate. And for rezoning it, I think our farmland is very important to have. We're losing a lot of our farmland, and conservation is very important. But I think everybody's main concern is the traffic and the schools, and how this will affect our taxes and everything too. So other than that, that's and I'm expressing to vote against that for those reasons. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Tina. Again, a reminder, please share your name, your address, and hold your comments no more than 3 minutes, because we do have a few folks who want to speak today. So with that, again, related to Lakewood, I've got Rick Smith.
Rick Smith, 100 Heather Drive. My concerns are also the traffic that would be, congested. The plan looks like it's going to be 490 units, and I don't think we have 490 units in west of Taylor with all those developments, and that is a lot of units over there. And I'm concerned with the developer too. I looked online. I don't know where you found him. He's got a Chicago fancy address. He's 5 years in business, and he paid way too much for this if he even sold it. I want to know who owns it, and did he pay too much for it, and he's gonna squeeze every nickel out of it that he can. That's what I'm concerned about. That and taking, it's terrible, it's hard for me to speak, but it's, I'm suspicious of the developer. He comes in here, he catered to you, but he hasn't catered to us yet. And I know he'll be here tomorrow night, but he's not at this meeting tonight either. So that concerns me too. So thank you. I thank the whole board for listening.
Thanks, Rick. Next, Mark Melther. I'm not. And again, this is Lakewood Development.
My name is Mark Myfair, 515 Hawthorne Court, here in the village. I want to thank each and every one of you for your service to our community. I know we have shared goals of making this a great place for each of us to live, to raise families, to enjoy life. So the concerns I have been mentioned. One of the things we haven't talked about, and I'm sure it's on your website, I just haven't seen it, but what's the big picture? What's the master plan? How does this fit into it? Is this just part of phase one and then there's going to be more to come in our specific area? But I know, like the farm has been talked about, we see the new development down by Glacial Dremlin, and just not really clear about the big picture, which you probably are, but it would really be helpful for us because that just starts to be a domino effect to things like traffic. So a lot of us are concerned about the future impact of the Amazon plant and what is that going to do to Main Street as traffic heads potentially to the south, and that would be going right across our intersection of Taylor and Main Street. So we don't know if there's been an impact study on that, how these two come together. So just bringing that to your attention, as Tina mentioned before, the impact on our schools. I do think there's some safety concerns in terms of egress out of this community, and that's a concern along, obviously, with the traffic flow. Rick just mentioned the developer, and obviously development is just part of any community's future. And I think a concern could be if the developer is not here in our state, do they have a different kind of investment in a place like this? And this is where we've put in our stakes, and this is where we're doing life and raising a family, and we would want that kind of commitment to be reciprocated by the developer. There's a big concern about lot size. All you need to do is drive through the current places that exist, and you realize that the average lot size is 0.161 of these collective 491. 20% of these lots are 5,000 square feet. The homes behind Glacial Dremlin, many of those large homes are probably close to 5,000 square feet. So it just seems disparate in terms of the lay of the land that we so enjoy and what's seeming to be condensed into a very small space. And then the other thing is we notice that there is a farm, and that isn't part of the development, but just curious, do they have first right of refusal? And is that coming up in a short period of time as well? So thanks for hearing my concerns.
Thanks, Mark. Public hearing portion. Anybody else wish to speak not related to the lift station that hasn't provided a wish to speak form yet in the audience?
Sorry, I did the wish to speak for the last one. Rebecca Hildebrandt, 325 North Main, right at the corner of Main and Weldbridge, where the majority of the traffic for this new development, I suspect, would go. Just here to express the concerns that we have for the safety of that intersection and the increased traffic that we expect we would see. Probably our other biggest concern is that there is, as from what we can see, no planned access other than Ridge Road. So all of the traffic going to that development, my guess would come right by our house and turning left right there. And just the safety, the school is just down the road from there. The pedestrian traffic that's happening there all the time. And I think we see this as a concern of how this is affecting our neighborhood and the people that live around us and how they access the school and the church. in the community. So just wanting to express our concern about what that could potentially look like as far as increased traffic.
Thanks, Rebecca. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, please.
I actually filled out an online form to talk about the lift station and the development. So I'm going to do it both at the same time.
Okay, I do have Cynthia, right?
Abby
Abby, sorry, that's the other one I have in my hand.
McDowell. My name is Abby McDowell. I am the homeowner at 208 Heather Drive. I am here today to express my concerns regarding the proposed rezoning of the parcels in question for the construction of the new lift station behind my property. As one of the 3 homes directly impacted, I am strongly opposed to rezoning for several reasons. First, approving the rezoning would only open the door for new developments behind the Arrowwood neighborhood. Currently, the only access to and from the neighborhood is via Taylor Street and Ridge Road. Before considering rezoning or any new developments, it is essential to plan for an additional access road to ensure safe and efficient traffic flow. The intersection at Weldbridge, Highway N, and Taylor Street is already congested during peak hours, and adding more traffic from a new development would only exacerbate the situation. While improvements like the bump outs and updated crosswalks may help traffic flow, it won't solve major congestion issues caused by a new development. Has a traffic study been conducted, and if so, where are the results? Why are we investing tax dollars into construction at this intersection when it will likely need to be readdressed once the development moves forward? Sorry, I'm really nervous.
Fine.
Don't like public speaking. It is my understanding that the proposed lift station is intended to support the new development proposed by Lakewood Real Estate Capital. Rezoning these parcels without a secondary access road and proceeding with the lift station construction before the development plan is finalized would be a waste of the $6.7 million allocated for this project. Additionally, what will happen if the lift station is built but remains unused? Who is going to be responsible for its maintenance? It seems that our elected officials are rushing to approve projects such as this one without sufficient consideration or research of this long-term impact. These initiatives should be evaluated from a broader 30,000-foot perspective, with more thorough research and input from Cottage Grove residents. Transparency is a major issue. For example, the village website has no information under the village project section regarding this project, and everything regarding this project is labeled as a parcel number with no description or map as to where these parcels begin or end. If I hadn't taken the time to investigate, our neighborhood, our Arrowwood neighborhood, wouldn't have been informed about these developments. We deserve better communication, and we should collaborate as a community to find well-considered solutions rather than just quick fixes. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Anyone else? Please. Oh, we got 2 coming at once, so.
My name is Steve Campbell. I live at 212 Wyndham Hill in Cottage Grove. And my presentation will be very short. I'm curious to know what the council's or the village board's justification is for this project. How will it benefit the village? And secondly, I would ask that you folks address all of these questions, not just mine, but everybody's questions on a public forum, rather than, I would be really disappointed if we were simply notified that the board has approved this project. So, my 2 questions. Can you justify this to the village, the benefit to the village? And secondly, what was my second thought? Well, I'll leave it at that, but let us know why you think this might be a positive thing for Cottage Grove. And I hope, my second thought was that you'll address these issues that have been brought up by the folks from the community.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, Joe Hickey, 252 Taylor Street, Cottage Grove. Yeah, just want to reiterate some of the things that already have been said. And first of all, thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns. First of all, traffic. I think the point of not having a second in or out from that proposed neighborhood and just having Taylor Street is a huge concern with that many homes. The traffic can just not all go on to Taylor Street. I think would create a lot of problems for the neighborhood. Second one was always brought up already was the lot sizes. You know, the lot sizes proposed are so much smaller than the current neighborhood. It's just not consistent with the current area. So listen, we can't, I get it, there's development, we want to grow, we can't necessarily always stand in the way of development, but if there is going to be development, it really should be consistent with what the current neighborhood is. As opposed to just something very, very different than what's already there. And then and I guess those are my two main points, and just the traffic and the lot sizes.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak? Yeah, please.
My name is Jose Leon. I'm for 213 Yarrow Hill Drive. My concern is pretty much the traffic is going to be causing on Taylor Street and Main Street. And during rush hours right now, with the school, the traffic goes back 2 blocks, 5-10 minutes that you have to wait there because the buses cannot make the right turn. They have to wait for both ways to be clear to make the turn. People just sitting in their cars because there's nowhere to go. And I understand that we want to grow and bring more people to Cottage Grove, but at the same time, you are pretty much with that lot size is 0.16 lots for 496 houses. It's like you're packing people like rats. They don't have nowhere to go and anything. It's like, it should be at least the same as like the guy before me said. It's like everybody, most of their lots right now are like 0.5, 1 acre. So you want to develop, they should be able to be at least around the same size of lots and have a second entrance for it, because the streets that we have now and the schools, the infrastructure that we have right now, I don't think can keep up with 500 more houses in the area. And then I don't think no one else taking consideration that the Amazon warehouse is going to be coming up in like 2-3 years, something soon is going to be open. So that's going to create more traffic, and then we're going to have the same streets. So where is all the cars are going to go in the schools? Where our kids are going to go to school when the infrastructure is not there? I think we're trying to develop and bring more people to Cottage Grove in town way too early, way too soon when the infrastructure is not there for taking care of all the people that live in Cottage Grove. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, yeah, please.
John Vandenberg, 300 Heather Court, Cottage Grove. I just have more questions than answers, I guess. Is this an informational meeting? Are we going to get information from you guys, or is there a presentation that I missed? I mean, I looked at the letter, I looked at the back of it, I looked at the map. I'm not really clear on a lot, like the lift station. It says you're going to rezone for the lift station, and then there's maybe 2 additional lots. What are those lots going to be? Is it going to be a cul-de-sac? Is it going to be a through street eventually? What is our long-term plan for that lift station? And because people are going to have to look at it. And like was already brought up, is that lift station even needed if Lakewood's not going to go through? We just all, you included, stuck a lot of money into the revamp of Taylor Street already. We did it just 2 summers ago. We still have infrastructure, overhead power lines that feed our entire subdivision currently. Is this new Lakewood subdivision going to go on that same power system? Because if one pole goes down, now 1,000 houses are out of power versus the 400 currently, or whatever's in our current Arrowwood subdivision currently. I think we need to increase our infrastructure there. Traffic's always going to be an issue. Has a traffic study had been done? I mean, they'll tell you if you need one or not, and I think it'd be information that would be beneficial to the village board to know how much traffic's on Taylor, how much is on N at that intersection. Is County Highway going to let you put a light in? I mean, have we asked these questions? I mean, that's a county road. They have a say. You're going to pin a school in between two lights already. Getting in and out of that school is going to be problematic. I know the sheriff's office does traffic studies for these reasons, just to make sure that, especially around schools, for buses and bus routes and all that stuff as well. We want to make sure that our kids are safe, that our people are safe, and that we want to continue to come to Cottage Grove. I guess that's all I have to say, but thank you. If we could get more of those answers, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Please.
Hi again, thank you. Ashley Vandybert, 300 Heather Court. Just revoicing a lot of what everybody's already said about traffic, infrastructure, school, safety. I also have concerns about the wildlife in the area. I haven't heard anything about that. I know it maybe sounds silly, but I do believe that there's some eagles' nests in some of those trees out there, and I'd like to know the rules and regulations about building around those birds, if they're protected, and what that means, and has the board looked into any of that and what that means.
Thank you. Please.
Evan Hoyer, 307 Manley Lane, out by Glacial Drumlin. I know you guys don't really come up with these plans. It's not your guys', if you want to call it, fault. It's really just, it's the developer that buys the property or has a contingency that they want to develop it, and they come to you with a plan and a proposal, and it's your job to make a yes/no call on it. It's, I want to say I'm generally in favor of the density increase in Cottage Grove, but maybe having it be so tucked back far by Taylor Road is kind of, it would cause some traffic concerns, and I think that probably the biggest thing is to just get a traffic impact analysis out of this is probably going to be the first way to go. But otherwise, with the lot sizes, I personally don't see a problem because we are in a housing crisis right now, and creating those smaller lot sizes that are more traditional types of development are going to help people be able to afford homes in the future. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Yes, please.
My name is Amanda. I live at 248 Taylor Street. The only thing I have to say is I work from home, home all the time. Speeding is awful already. I have an 8-year-old son. We've already put up like the little speed thing since I moved in there. They actually put the other speed sign coming in from the Deerfield area because I complained. And there's that 25-mile-an-hour with the flag on it. That's me. It's a huge problem. It can't be understated. I don't have any like speech about it, but adding just how many homes, I'm not in objection to something going back there. I'm in objection to having no other out and for the safety of the people in the community. Some of the reports I put into the police station pre-bike lanes, sorry, I'm really nervous.
Fine.
Pre-bike lanes, I had almost seen bikers, recumbent, hiker on recumbent bikes, hikers, like so many people almost get hit by a car. And since my house is on the hill, I have an advantage point that maybe other people don't. Lots of people on their cell phones driving. It's just egregious. It's constant, barely anybody goes 25, and I think, I've talked to JJ before, and those kind of things, just how wide the road is really conducive to people speeding. So that is my main concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? All right. Anybody on Zoom?
I'm gonna go one more time. My name's Rick Smith. I live at 100 Heather Drive. And I can't reiterate about the developer. We tried to look him up online. did he find you? I'm sure he must have. That's one thing I want to know. And like I said, I never met him before. You know, I would like to meet him before you guys do anything. I know we're gonna have him. Is he gonna be here tomorrow night? Thank you. That's all I wanted to know. I wish he would have been here today. Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. Anybody else on Zoom wish to speak? Anybody raising their hand? All right. Then we'll close the public appearances portion of the meeting and move on to discuss and consider the meeting minutes from our Plan Commission meeting held back on November 13th.
Motion to approve the November meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second then. Any discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Now I'd like to open up a public hearing, and this is public's opportunity to provide input on an application from the Village of Cottage Grove for the approval of zoning map amendment for the change portions of a couple parcels on West Ridge, rural holdings to single-family residential. Again, if you're from the public and wish to speak, we ask that you share your name, your address, your municipality, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes. And maybe everybody already covered it.
Yeah, so this is just pretty much, you're just asking if we want to rezone, this is rezoning it.
Right. Right, correct.
Yeah, John, would we like Strand to kind of walk through
Yep.
the lift station project?
Yep,
so
that
people
will,
can
I
see what
think
it looks
that
like?
will be helpful.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should just give like an overview overall. I don't know if I was prepared to go far back, but I think I'm gonna show maybe a Google Street View map and just kind of.
While you get that called up, maybe it's important to also let everyone know that there actually is no proposed development officially. We don't have an application. Is that correct, Aaron? I mean,
Yeah, as
we
Rick,
can't even speak to what.
as Rick reminded us, they're having the neighborhood meeting tomorrow. They will be here to present that.
So there hasn't been a formal application, so.
Nope,
They've come and given concepts to the Plan Commission, which you can rewatch on YouTube.
Okay, is the land sold?
I assume they have it under contract, but I
assume
don't.
it's under contract because we're dealing with Kendall Upoff to acquire the land from the lift station still.
Yeah, so but has all these contingencies of, okay, I'm sure it has. all the
Probably, yeah.
contingencies to go through. But for rezoning it, we should really have, I don't think we should change the rezoning of the land. And like I was just at the last meeting saying, for some reason, if this does not go through, then we do not need a lift station.
All right,
So let me walk through the process
yes,
of just
we're gonna cover the list.
maybe there was questions about is there an overall plan, which I truly appreciate. Is there a vision, right, for the village, and what is the concept and the thought behind all of this, right? So I'm gonna show you kind of a Google image of the property that we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the parcels in the fields that is just adjacent east of where a lot of you are from. And the reason that a lift station is needed someday is if I zoom out and look at the village overall, is the village can't serve anything to the east anymore by gravity. What that means is the pipes in the ground will be too shallow to serve any new homes east of what the new development is. Somebody's saying, who cares? If we're looking at overall planning for the community and where the ability to grow anywhere, it's smart to look at a location that can then feed a bunch of everything else. So you find a site that's low, that you can put a lift station in, and you can create sewers that are deep enough to serve a large area, right? That area would be roughly in the area that we're talking about now. We studied it, we've looked at it. Oh, I'm sorry. So my name is Josh Straka. I'm the village engineer consultant with Strand Associates. So we've been hired to look into this project and to also help design this lift station, to be proactive. there isn't a developer's agreement now, but there's long-range planning that needs to happen as part of the village. If you don't do this long-range planning, what you get is you get single developers coming in, kind of proposing what they want, having to kind of have a bunch of these lift stations in a bunch of cases, and then double pumping and having kind of infrastructure that doesn't actually work that well for the village. And what that does is it's gonna cost the taxpayers more. It's gonna cost the utility payers more. It's gonna, we're trying to be smart plan as we go and develop the city, or I'm sorry, village, and expand it. So this project overall is looking for that site. Even if this development doesn't happen, this is the logical site that it would take place. There's already been planning ahead, and there's already been infrastructure put in the ground years ago that kind of lend itself to this being the area where this would take place.
And furthermore, this area and others in the area have, the village already has deemed these areas as future neighborhoods, no matter, so that's what's transparent, supposed to be transparent to residents and developers alike. So the developer has an expectation when they come in to build a neighborhood that that baseline is, that's already what the village has told them that we want there. And that's already what, the process has been. But from a tax perspective, and we want to be careful and not go, we're here to discuss the rezone of a lift station, but, this possible development would bring in $175 million of tax base, which equals, $2.6 million to the school district and $1.3 million to the village of Cottage Grove. But that's just an example there. But anyway, Josh, you can continue with.
I'm just going to give you an overview of the drawings, just to kind of go from there to show a little bit of what maybe some of that infrastructure has been put in, and bear with me here, I'm stopping to share again because I can't see everything on my screen at once.
Is there any long-term access to Cottage Grove Road to BB from the development? Is that been thought of?
So I understand that people have a lot of questions, and so if we could just have an orderly process here, like we just want to have the engineer go through his presentation. At that point, when he's done, there can be a more public hearing where people will be able to ask more questions. I just want to make sure we keep things on track and we're being respectful of everybody's time.
Yeah, so there's been traffic questions also, and a TIA also as part of this overall conversation, traffic impact analysis. We understand that, the village gets that, the developer has been told that, the potential developer has actually started working on that piece of it. To get that information. So that is being thought of as part of this process. A connection to the north at some point in the future has also been a conversation piece as part of that. Again, there's no official application to see exactly what everything that they're proposing, but there's been discussions about all of that. So moving to just the lift station portion of it, the building itself is going to look very similar to the other lift station and well buildings in the village. And I'm gonna try to scroll down to just the overall project here and zoom in. It seems like it's a big file, so bear with me. The force main would go through the Hydrite property, and the force main has been put up to the Hydrite property. So there's been planning that force main has been installed already all the way to the west, to the big lift station that goes all the way to Madison Met, where all of your sewage goes to. So a portion of this has already been installed because this has been planned years ago to serve the east side of the community. We would be extending that force main through the Hydrite property and then over to the village streets to the east, where it would continue to, my mouse is not working very well. It's already across Main Street. It's already across Main Street. So it would continue from there on. It would go all the way, and then we would create a new cul-de-sac bulb and then a site for the lift station just to the north of that bulb. From there, all the sewage from that east half of the village in the future could flow to this. From there, it would be pumped back over to the west side of the village, from where it's pumped then to the large treatment plant at Madison. So all that has been thought about in the past, and this is kind of the long-range planning of this thing. There's also a lift station here today that serves all of your homes. It's called the Trillium Lift Station. So it's the same thing. You guys can't drain by gravity over there instead. I'm having a real hard time with my mouse. It's close. It's right over in this area. There's an existing lift station. That will be taken offline. It's a really small facility, so it can't handle any more houses than really what's out there today. And that sewer will flow back to this larger station and be pumped from there. So we will be eliminating a small little station. Remember when I talked about bad planning sets a bunch of these little lift stations all over the place? The idea is to create a regional one so you don't have all of these to maintain and the expense of them down the road. And they're typically more expensive because they're smaller and you have a bunch of small ones that are located in different areas. So from there, we're here really tonight to talk about the rezoning because that will sit on a new piece of property, and there'll be a sanitary sewer that goes north all the way up to Ridge Road. So an interceptor sewer that will continue on north as it goes through the village, and that basically is what everybody's going to feed into. That brings the sewage down to this location on the east side of the village. As part of this overall project, there is some Plan Commission. We wanted you to see some of the views of that lift station. And bear with me, I'm trying to jump between screens here. That's not going to share. I'm going to share something else. They're going to look very similar to the other ones in the community. It should be coming up. This is just kind of a view of the exterior of it. Brick facade, couple bay doors as part of this. There'll be some storage area and then the components for the lift station, a small bathroom in the inside, electrical room, and a generator that's going to be housed in the building. So there will be a generator as part of it too. In case we lose power, we can still run the facility through the generation. If we want to look, just to take a peek at what that, I could go to Google and show you what the other lift station looks like. Just to show you that. I don't know why I have to jump between these. I'm struggling. What the other one looks like. So this is the one that pumps, the other large lift station in town that pumps to MMSD. Can't win.
So that soil that they were drilling this summer, did that test okay then?
So this is what the other one looks like right here. So it's going to mimic the very same look of the building that you have. The wells look similar to this. Well 4 up in the Commerce Parks looks similar to this kind of same style. And even well number 3, as you're coming down Main, has a very similar look. So we were trying to keep all the facilities to look somewhat similar. I thought I heard a question about soil borings. The reason we go out and get soil borings is just so the contractor knows what they're getting into as for construction and then also for foundation work for the building. Yep. Is there any questions from the commission? Would they like to know anything else about the property or the project? I mean, there's other details in some of the attachments that I could get into if we wanted to talk specifics.
Josh, I think we can handle that after the public portion.
That's fair.
So.
Yep.
And maybe I'll just make a quick comment on, the timing of this versus, any potential development to the east. So the villages or the utility is going to be acquiring the property, but this project won't be moving forward unless there's development to support the lift station. So this is a preemptive request just to have the process done for the lift station in the future should anything move forward. So it's not that it's necessarily 100% going to move forward. It's dependent on other factors, but we wanted to move forward with this request at least just to make sure that this part of the zoning process in the site plan got the public feedback, but it is contingent on other things moving forward.
All right, now we can move to the public again, regarding the lift station.
I just have several questions regarding the lift station. It looks like it's north-south facing.
Yeah, can you share your name?
John Vanderbert,
I knew you
300,
already did,
yep,
but-
300 Heather Court. John Vanderbert, 300 Heather Court. It looks like the lift station itself is facing north-south. Is there any reason why it's not east-west, like at the end of that cul-de-sac? Is that for these other lots that are going to be there? Or was that just somebody had drawn up? Or, I mean, if you put it at the end of the road, at least then it looks like it's where it's supposed to be. But if you turn it the way you have it, three of the houses are literally going to be staring at a 2-story brick wall. I mean, and then my second question was, are the homeowners at that current intersection going to be required to put in sidewalk and curb and gutter if it's not already for that cul-de-sac? Because that's going to be a huge tax to at least to those people, because that's a huge corner. If they're extending that cul-de-sac, I don't know how far you're extending it, but I'm assuming it has to get extended past their property to do a cul-de-sac, if it's going to have a sidewalk. And then what was the other options for those lots that has to do with rezoning? Is there going to be single-family homes? Are they going to, what are we rezoning to? I just don't understand it, I'm sorry. We're going to put a village dog park in? Are we going to do something back there that's going to be ours and maybe help just take away some of this, I guess, eye aesthetic from the well house or whatever? But that's my couple questions I had.
Thanks, John. Anyone else in, yeah. Go.
Abby McDowell, 208 Heather Drive. So you had just mentioned, Rick, sorry, that this was all contingent upon certain things, but on the meeting's notes tonight, there's a schedule, a project schedule, and it says that for the bidding advertised to the village is on Monday, December 30th, advertisement date January 8th, advertisement date 2, January 15th. I don't know where this came from, but it sounds to me like the lift station is actually a done deal and not really waiting on anything. So I just wanted to get clarification that, you know, is tonight going to be a, yes, there is an offer to Uphoff Farm on the table. Yes, they are going to accept it. Yes, we are moving forward with the rezoning. I guess that's just my major concern.
Anyone else regarding the lift station?
Is the lift station, is it noisy?
Can I ask you to move to the mic, because the folks on Zoom can't hear you. Sorry, Tina.
Hi, my name is Tina McFadden, 100 Heather Drive. Is that lift station, is that gonna be like noisy working, you know? Will we hear it? You know, so I mean, I don't know, that was my question is.
Okay.
And then how big is it actually, like 20 by 20, things like that?
Okay, thank you, Tina. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom regarding the lift station public hearing? We have one hand up.
Yep, that's me. I'm Amanda Stotts. I'm at 104 Heather Drive. And along with Tina, I was curious about the noise. I've never lived near a lift station, so I really have no idea. And also the smell. Is there any smell coming from it that I can expect? That's all I would like to know. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Amanda.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Myfair, 515 Hawthorne Court. So for a lot of us, I think this is our first exchange in a venue like this, so we're a little confused. We've asked a couple dozen questions, and maybe you could just give us a short answer. Will these be addressed in a public fashion where we could actually get the answers? Because right now, there's a mounting frustration of like, we're asking genuine questions and we're not sure how the process works, but we're a little suspicious that this is it. And then you make your decision and we find out what it is and we don't actually get answers to our questions. So can you just explain that?
Yes, Mark. This process is set in state statute as far as you communicate to a commission, a board, whatever. And what we'll do is try to answer the questions afterwards. We can't have a direct exchange like I'm having with you right now.
Right.
because that's not part of the rules. I don't set the rules, that's just the way they are. Rick, if you want to add to that?
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind with, like, because of Wisconsin's open meeting laws, sorry, I'm Rick Matthew, I'm the village attorney. So with Wisconsin's open meetings laws, we can only talk about items that are on the agenda tonight. So for purposes of this, the agenda is focused on the lift station rezoning. Because we don't have anything for Lakewood, like there's no application, the Lakewood project's not on the agenda tonight. The discussion by the Plan Commission, any of that cannot be about Lakewood. It can only be focused on the lift station. So there will be a public or community meeting tomorrow night with the developer. That's a developer-led process. That's not a village meeting per se. That's where questions can be asked of the developer and you can get more direct answers from the developer. But for purposes of the meeting tonight, we have to focus on the lift station.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. But the last 4 questions were about the lift station. So the question is, are
yes.
those going to be answered tonight?
Yes, the process is we're going to gather all the questions and we will do our best to answer them after we've gathered all the public
Okay,
input.
but
Yeah.
communicate to us. At what point, what is the process? We don't know what you guys know. So how does it work?
Right now, this is just the public hearing. So the commission
No,
is
you
just
just
taking.
said you're going to answer the questions. How do we tap into that answer that you're going to give us? Is it online? Is it minutes? Are you going to stop the meeting and answer these questions now? We're just trying to figure it out.
Yes, I understand your concerns. I want to, because we're not trying to hide the ball here. We're trying to have an open process. So, and we're not supposed to be doing this back and forth, honestly, because of the open meetings laws.
You just,
So-
wait. You
yeah.
just said in the open meeting laws, if it's an agenda item,
Yes, but
you
for the,
can.
yeah, I'm sorry.
And this is an agenda item, and I'm not referring to 20 questions, the last 4 or 5. Are we going to get responses to those specific
Yes.
questions on the lift tonight or at another point? It's just information.
Yes,
It's not.
we are going to do our best to answer all the lift station questions tonight. If
Great.
there are follow-up
Thank you.
information, we will try to provide it. Yeah.
After you close the public hearing.
Correct.
Correct.
There can't be open debate.
Yeah.
I think most people would say,
We don't know that.
right, I would say most
We're
people.
taxpayers and we're pissed.
I would say most people would say against it because there are so many questions that are unanswered, and this is the first that we're hearing about it. You guys have been sitting on this for a while and have known about it a while, and we haven't. So that's why we're just saying that we think it should be voted against at this point, just because there's so many unanswered questions and contingents on things going forward. So that's my say.
That's why we have, Tina, that's why we have a process. So, and we are in these open meetings. The Lakewood folks have presented, and again, we're not talking about that tonight. And they will in the future. They'll have an opportunity, a community meeting tomorrow. So that's that developer-led, as Rick said. So, anyone else on Zoom or in the room?
I'm Amanda Stotts. I have one more question. Is there going to be a 104 Heather Drive? Is there going to be a lot of like lighting around the facility at night too? Would be the other question I'd have. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Amanda. Anyone else? All right, so then we'll close the public meeting portion of this and move on to discuss and consider the application in front of the village of Cottage Grove, from the village of Cottage Grove for the approval of certified map to create 1.9 acre parcel portions on the parcels listed in the agenda and on West Ridge Road. And with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron to kind of give background on all of this, hopefully.
Yeah, first
start
I think we
answering
can
questions.
try to answer some of these questions.
Yeah.
I'll let Josh handle the technical ones about the station itself, but there was one about the zoning and why is it being zoned single-family residential. This kind of facility could go in any zoning category. It's a permitted use in any. We chose SR4 because all the parcels around it are SR4, and this would help make it more consistent in terms of the amount of green space and the lot coverage and things like that. So it's hopefully a little bit less out of place being next to your neighborhood. The only parcel that's being rezoned is the one that the lift station would go on. We're not rezoning anything related to what Lakewood is doing at this time. The CSM that's on the agenda, that's kind of a very simple version of a plat. In this case, it's creating one parcel. Again, it's the parcel that the station would go on, not creating any new parcels for, the potential development. And then the site plan review that's on the agenda, it's really the chance for the plan commission to make sure the plan meets the ordinance or not. Lakewood's not here tonight because the lift station's not their project. It's a village project. I think we talked about it a little bit at the utility, but maybe not here. If the Lakewood project doesn't go forward, we don't have to accept any of the bids and build the project. So yes, it's going out for bid, but we don't necessarily have to accept one. It's been a little bit of a chicken and the egg process because developers don't want to do anything unless they know there's going to be a lift station, but we don't want to do a lift station unless we know there's going to be some development to help recoup the cost of the lift station. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful. But Josh, I think there were questions about lighting and noise.
Yeah,
And
let me see if I can, and then we can go back if we have a few others. Size, somebody asked about size. The building's roughly 64 by 50. I put the site plan up on the screen, and so that's like 3,200 square feet. This is also for the plan commission so they can kind of see this. I mean, there's going to be concrete all the way around the building. That's for circulation. The two bays of the door. Somebody asked, why north-south? Why not put it on the end of the cul-de-sac? We have wetlands, so all this pretty much to the east of the cul-de-sac is wetlands, which the DNR really isn't going to let us build on regardless. That's why you see the development or proposed development probably is going to stay north of that wetland area, just because you can't get around the DNR restrictions on building further to the east. There's some landscape shown on there. We're trying to provide some landscape buffer. Aaron laid out and helped lay out some of the landscaping that's on the east side of the station, or I'm sorry, the west side of the station. There was some noise, some talk about noise. There shouldn't be much for noise at the station. It's in a concrete block building. The noise that you would have in a generator is inside, not outside, so we're not proposing an outside generator, even though that is probably a more cost-effective option. We understand there would be noise with an outside generator when it turns on, so that's on the inside of the building so you don't hear it. The pumps that are going to be running and pumping the sewage, they're actually in a wet well that's 30 feet deep. The pumps are down 30 feet deep. You won't hear the pumps as part of this. So it's a relatively quiet building unless there's people there in and out of it and pulling in and out that you'd have anywhere as part of a site. Lighting, on the lighting side, somebody asked about lighting. There's really no lighting at the end of the cul-de-sac, no lighting on the site besides what's on the building over the doors for safety purposes at night so you can see and get in and out of that facility. So there's no thought of there being a lot of light at that site or light spill out beyond the site boundaries of that site. I'm trying to see if I...
Rick, public hearing's over.
Oh.
No, no, I'm sorry, you can't.
I want to know how it works. I mean, you got the doors on?
Rick, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, as part of the facility, what's there again, kind of discuss that, is it's got 2 garage doors. Most of what you're seeing on that screen, 2/3 of it, and you can see in some of the other site plans, 2/3 of it is just storage. You're pulling in a couple different vehicles. The utility needs room to store additional vehicles, so they're providing it at this facility. The rest of it, there's a valve room, there is a bathroom, there is a mechanical, kind of electrical room, and the room that houses the generator. It's a very pretty simple building in that regard. How does the station work? I'm just going to answer that for the commission. Water comes down into this big wet well from all the community. It gets to this low point. The pumps kick on with floats in this big facility, so it fills up. And it may take hours to fill up. And then the pumps kick on because it hits floats that say, oh, it's just like your toilet, there's a float in the ballast. It hits the top, and then it pumps it all the way down. So it will pump for maybe let's say 10 minutes. It'll pump it dry all the way down the bottom, and then it will refill itself up. And it'll pump itself down and refill itself up. The only thing that's filling it up is all the residents that are using water and it's sending it down their drains. So it's there to pump the water from this side of the village back over to the west side of the village, so then we can pump it to MMSD in Madison to be treated and put back into the waterways.
Josh, there was a question about smell too.
Yeah, so again, smell-wise, that's all contained down in that wet well. It's not like a treatment plant where we're treating the water or we're bringing it up to the surface and doing something with it. This is all far underground and pumped from underground through the underground system back over to the other station. So there should be no odor at this facility.
John, I can try to, I know there's some questions about a process, and I guess I can try to address those a little bit more. So like, I'm gonna keep it limited just to this project. So we're basically at step 1 of the process. So the village is applying to rezone the land because right now it's in a district that is not really consistent, like Aaron said, with the surrounding neighborhood. So the proposal is to rezone it to the single family or the SR4. So as part of that process, it comes to the Plan Commission. We have a public hearing, so that's why everyone's here, obviously, is to provide your feedback on the proposal. Then the Plan Commission takes all that information. They would make a recommendation to the village board on whether or not to approve the rezone. The village board then would consider that proposal and approve the rezone, or approve it with conditions, or decline to rezone the property. So that's one step. The other process is the site plan, which is another type of zoning approval. So if the rezone is approved, there's certain standards that the lift station would have to meet. So certain zoning standards, like with setbacks from the building from lot lines, there are screening requirements. So you can see on the site plan, there's some trees depicted on there. So that's screening for the buildings, so they won't have to stare at the brick wall, right? So the lift station has to comply with all of those zoning standards that are in the SR4 district. So that's a separate zoning approval, but that's also here tonight because those typically move in conjunction with one another, or they move on parallel paths where you're asking to allow the property to be rezoned so you can use it for a specific purpose, and also to have the site plan approved for your building to make sure it complies with all of the zoning ordinance standards. So this would also go to the village board for approval. So that's the zoning process. And again, I can't really talk about the Lakewood. That's a whole different process, and that's a more complicated process where they have to go through more steps before it comes back for any final approval. So the lift station itself, on the bidding, so there is a proposed construction schedule. It is not set in stone. The thinking is, if we have that schedule, even if it goes out to bid, the village could even accept bids conditioned on certain conditions happening. And if those conditions don't happen, then the approval is not going forward. So even though there may be a proposed bidding schedule, there's no commitment by the village to build this lift station at this time. There are gonna be, no contracts have been signed, right? So there's gonna be more contingencies that have to be satisfied before the village actually moves forward with this. This proposed construction schedule is just an estimate on what a construction schedule might look like, depending on if the Lakewood project actually moves forward.
Josh reminded me of a couple other points. So the landscaping buffer that's shown, it's a little bit of a placeholder. So if you're one of the parcels that's directly backing up, we can work with you on exactly where the optimal spot for that landscaping should be to help, screen the building, because that's the whole point of doing that. And then I think there's a question about the land surrounding this. So the Lakewood area would start further north. The remainder of this parcel to the east and south of the station itself. My understanding is that Kendall would hold on to that, and I think he plans to keep farming it. As Josh said, a lot of it is wetland, but it's farmed wetland. Yeah.
The dark area. So you can see, that's not the exact wetland boundaries, but the real dark area is majority wetlands. It's farmed wetlands, but it's still wetlands in the DNR's eyes, which is very hard to build on. Sorry, Aaron, if I cut you off, I just want to show that image of it.
No, that's helpful. So I don't know if you want to get into recommendations. There's three separate
Yes, please.
agenda items. Then the certified survey map, we'd recommend approval. We have one condition on the rezone, just that it shall take effect upon the village closing on the property. So if we don't go ahead and buy the parcel, then it won't stay zoned SR4, it just stays rural holding as it is. So it won't turn into a house lot or something like that if we don't build the lift station. It just goes back to the way it was. Then we didn't have any conditions on the site plan other than what I was just saying about the landscaping, that we could shift some of that around if need be.
All right, open up to commission, questions, comments.
Hi, John.
Alex, go ahead.
Can you zoom in on the lot you're under? Okay, it doesn't matter. One of the questions that was asked and not, I didn't hear an answer yet to it. So if you go to the map view is probably easier, I'm sorry. Just the Google Maps? Yeah. Please.
Give it a second. Okay, there it is. This map?
Yeah, if you can zoom in on, so there's that branch street that cuts in. There was a question around adding sidewalks or something to that. The cul-de-sac that gets built out there. So I looked at the maps too. There's no sidewalk crossing, the driveway that's in there or that other side. So is there going to be requirement to add sidewalks on either of those properties?
Hi guys, first time attending Plan Commission. I'm the Public Works Director. I started in July. As part of the installation of this cul-de-sac and the lift station, we will be extending curb and the asphalt pavement, but we will not be adding sidewalk along that property. Within village limits, and anytime we do a project, we don't special assess any curb or sidewalk that is part of the project. So anytime we do a road reconstruction project, or in this case, we're extending a road for a new utility facility, we don't special assess that back to our residents.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions, comments from commission members?
Hey, John, I have a question. As I recall, the comprehensive plan shows whether it's Lakewood or anybody else, that is a residential development. It's on the website. It's been there for years. But is the lift station itself on the comprehensive plan, as that's where it's going to be?
I don't know that we showed this exact specific spot. It is listed in the utility chapter of the comp plan as a future piece of infrastructure that would be needed. I think I touched on that in the staff report. Yeah, there's a description of the lift station and force main project, which references that the project is part of the village's capital utility plan. It's in chapter 7 of the plan.
Okay, all right. And is this lift station constructed any different than the one on Vilas Road?
Question for Josh.
In the sense of it won't be as big as that one, but it's very similar in how it works. Are you asking that, or is it building wise or functionality wise, or both?
I think more functionality, because I can say this, that I don't live that far away from that lift station. While I do not hear the noises or smell, there are smells on occasion, probably a block and a half away, and there are noise. When some pump or something is running, you can literally hear it a block and a half away. And I have hearing aids. So I just want to make sure that the public understands that there may be some noise and smell that goes with this if it's not different than the existing one we have in the village now.
Yeah, I mean, that one's quite a bit bigger. The pumps in there are quite large. I believe some of that stuff is higher up on that lift station, so I'd have to look into that to actually know specifics.
There's an external fan on that other unit as well, on our big unit, the one that you're talking about on Vilas. I don't, and that's one of my sort of follow-up questions. It's in line with him. Sorry, Troy, but are we having? You said all the equipment on this one is internal.
It is.
Are we having any external? I know you said it. I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there an external fan? So the Vilas one has pretty large external fans. Does this one having any external?
On the building or outside?
It's in the Vilas has it outside ground level. So if you probably can see it on the map. It's southeast facing. It's a crooked building. It's not straight north-south, right? So there's a pretty large motor fan set right there.
Here?
Yeah, right on that pad. So I didn't see it in your drawings, your renderings, but it's a good question for clarification, right? So that's, if everything's truly internal to the building, you know, or is there, and I guess if you are gonna land something on the property, you know, face it towards the farm, right?
Yeah, that's some sort of an exhaust fan. There's nothing planned in this facility like that on the exterior that I know of.
Yeah.
So I'll look into that, but
Okay.
I don't believe there's something like that.
And I know I also smell the Dane County dump too, sometimes, and that's disastrous for our community in itself, but yeah.
That
Sorry,
exhaust
Troy.
fan doesn't
Yeah,
run all the time.
This doesn't.
No,
It seems like the timing of when I'm out and about, it seems fairly consistent. It's not every day, but it's usually at a certain time in the morning, and you hear this kind of a rumble. And I don't know, it doesn't sound like a fan to me, but again, I have bad hearing. But if you live close to it, you definitely hear it. So it's for transparency.
Yeah, let me look into that specific to that station and try to figure out what that noise is so we have an idea of not replicating something like that here, but I don't know for sure.
And one more question. One more question if I can, in relation to this, this lift station is contingent on development of that area, whether it's Lakewood or anybody else. That will also affect all citizens in the village of Cottage Grove with the ongoing increases in water and sewer bills. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I quite heard the question.
Who's paying for it? Is it coming out of village taxes or utilities?
Matt would probably
The
know.
development that goes there will not pay for the entire lift station. The entire village of Cottage Grove will be impacted by more increased cost with sewer and water bills. Am I incorrect?
Somewhat. There's a lot of components to paying for it's a roughly $7 million project, and we're working through the framework of all of that. But basically, there's a system with the Trillium, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kyle or Josh, but with the Trillium system coming offline, the portion for the residents served by that will kind of be absorbed by current ratepayers, but that's a percentage. Lakewood or any other developer in this area would be assessed an impact fee to pay for their portion of the lift station, which would be approximately, like 2/7 of the cost, something like that. And then future development outside of this area that would be served by the regional lift station would also be responsible through impact fees. So a pretty small portion, Troy, probably less than 1/7 or somewhere around maybe 1/7 would be part of current ratepayers. However, should this not move forward, there still needs to be something done with the Trillium lift station, so that would go that way regardless. So
yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say though is so current homeowners, taxpayers, utility users would have an impact with this lift station. The majority of that would go through whoever develops that, whether it's Lakewood or anybody else on Taylor/Ridge Road. It just seems like in the last few years that we've had a large increase in utility, i.e. water and sewer, and this would continue to get to the point where an average homeowner is paying on the upwards of $800, $900 to $1,000, $1,200 a year for water and sewer. Correct? That 1.7 million, divide that out. Some of it's based on future development, which we don't know when, if it ever happens. I hear a lot of grumblings, I guess, from citizens as to what's going on with water and sewer bills. And this is gonna increase their bills even more if this happens.
I guess what I'm saying, Troy, is that regardless if it happens or not, there has to be a different project that would be about the same cost for current ratepayers. And the most of the increase that have been seen on the tax bill have been not village, not part of the village's sewer utility operations. It's been the Madison Metropolitan Sewers District passing those costs on to us, which we have to pay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Other questions for commission members?
I just wanted to take a step back for a second, and I think I already know the answer to this, but tonight we're only talking about this parcel that the lift station would go on and the rezoning of that and the site plan of that. And if there were other site plans for any surrounding parcels, that would have a process where it would be an application, rezoning, public hearing for that, various approvals for that. And then that is where traffic impact and the impact of that portion of the development would be discussed under those.
That's correct. I mean, Aaron can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there are other projects on parcels over there, there would be, because it's all zoned rural holding, so you can't really do any development in a rural holding zoning district. It's just meant for agriculture until development comes along, and then they would apply for it. So that process would be, it depends on what project they're doing. They would have to apply for a rezone regardless. And at that point, the village could, in all likelihood, it's going to ask for like a traffic impact analysis. They're going to do their due diligence on the project to see if all of the, like if the project makes sense, if it can, if it's in the public health, safety, welfare, if current infrastructure can handle it, what infrastructure upgrades need to be made in order to accommodate the development. So that's a whole separate process that is not part of tonight, obviously, but it would be probably a lot more comprehensive than something like this.
Yeah, when we've seen developments before, I haven't ever seen like this is the first lift station I've seen a plan commission, although we talked about lift stations when I used to be on utility commission. And so that would have it's a whole own set of things. And tonight it's just for this one lot.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. I'm going to review my notes. I might have another question. We'll see. We'll make sure.
So, good questions. So to be clear, because now you made me look at some more documentation. This is the lift station parcel. And in Aaron, your document, you're also talking about the 30-foot wide, 1,200-foot long extension that takes us all the way up to Ridge.
Yeah, so it's all part of the same parcel. We need either to own the land or have an easement to get the sewer main up to Ridge. I think in our discussions, it ended up making more sense to just own that and make it part of this parcel. There's some discussion that someday that we could also have a bike path that runs along that as well. But that wouldn't be part of this sewer project.
No, yeah. Okay.
I just want to add some personal perspective. I was on the board in 2007 or 2008, and we were talking about this project then. So the village has known for a long time that that was an area that for future development.
I guess my other question on that is the comprehensive plan drives what comes forward, what we plan for in infrastructure. And so because the comprehensive plan has development on the east, I'm looking at the map behind Josh over here because that's our future land use map from the comprehensive plan. Is that right?
Yeah, and to go back to Fred's comment, this has been shown as a potential neighborhood development since before I started working with the village, so.
And so then those future plans drive the need for the lift station because of the development to the east, so we can pump our wastewater to MMSD for treatment.
You got it.
Yep.
Yep, you got it.
Thanks.
Heidi.
Other questions, comments from commission members? Otherwise, this is a discuss and consider.
I guess I would say I appreciate all the comments tonight, and I have a lot more questions for if there are future things that come up, and I hope that you feel part of the process and open to coming to additional meetings, because we anticipate, I mean, there's always, there will be additional meetings, and whether or not there's other developments that come forward. So I appreciate definitely all the comments tonight, and I think that we addressed most of the things that apply to this rezoning and proposal for the lift station. With that, I would make the motion to approve or recommend approval of the application from the village for the parcels listed on West. The first one is the certified survey map to create the parcel.
Yes.
For the parcels on West Ridge Road, with staff condition?
Not on this.
Not on this item, okay, as presented.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, then, we have the zoning map consideration. Anything, you covered
So
all
we did
that?
have a condition on this,
Yes.
that if the village doesn't end up closing on the property, then the zoning would not take effect.
Any questions, comments there from commission members?
I'll make a motion to approve as listed on the agenda.
With condition?
With conditions, yes, sorry.
All right, thank you, Troy. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, then, we have the discussion application regarding the site plan for the new village lift station. Aaron, you wanna-
We didn't have a condition in the report, but I guess I would add that we want to build in some flexibility with the landscaping to make sure it's located optimally.
Okay, absolutely. Any questions, comments from commission members here?
I guess my question would be, is if we figured out that for some reason we did need a fan, could we come back to consider if we needed one? I think that might, it might be a different type of facility, or like, might be viewed differently if we need some kind of exhaust fan. I'm not sure how we can word that, but.
I want to talk to the mechanical engineers a little bit. I mean, we are going to have some HVAC units as part of this project, you know, just like any other building would have. It's just to what extent, Heidi, right? And,
Right, like more like a venting.
Yeah, like a venting
yeah.
of the station or something else that's unique, I would say. That makes sense, yep.
And I would just also add, you know, usually we're here because like a property owner is bringing forth a proposal, like because this is village led, obviously, like
Right,
they can, if the village wants to go above and beyond to, you know, make additions, like they don't have to, it's not as adverse of a process, right? Because we're not dealing with a private property owner.
Any other questions regarding the site plan then? All right, then this is again, discuss and consider.
Make a motion to approve the application from the Village of Cottage Grove for approval of a site plan for a new village lift station to be located on the parcels on West Ridge Road.
Is there a second? Okay, motion second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, next then we have a concept presentation from Dan Zilke for a potential changes to previously approved multi-tenant retail site on 640 Court Crossing. Again, this is for feedback only, no action we've taken from the meeting. Yeah. For those on Zoom, we're just kind of allowing people to leave the hall here. So, and we're also getting some electronic stuff set up for sharing on the screen so that you all can see it as well as we can see it in the room. Dave, just introduce yourselves, just so again, folks on Zoom can know who you
Absolutely. Yeah, my name's Charlie McCall. I'm a project manager at Sketchworks Architecture, and this is Dave Zilke.
Yeah, my name's Dave Zilke. I'm a developer, and I live at 410 Meadowcrest Trail here in Cottage Grove.
So we're here to talk about 636 Court Crossing. Previously, we had a project there called Cottage Grove Retail, and then looking at the market, looking at developing, it's just not maybe the most profitable project to put there. So what we'd like to discuss tonight is what we would call a commercial flex building. It's much like what the neighboring property has in the back, where you could have a contractor in there. Just a little mixture of things. I'll let Dave kind of talk to the options of that. But what we kind of put together here was just looking at similar type construction and then looking at, from the business aspect, how many square feet. You know, what we're showing is kind of where that profitability standpoint is on square feet, what we can lease it out, and then also working with the variables of the shared agreement for the site water, you know, with Dave Henziak's New Tech Paint. If you recall previously, the properties have been designed to maximize the square feet buildable for Dave Zilke's property, with the agreement that New Tech Paint would then take his rainwater onto the ponds. So what I've shown in the packet is essentially working on the footprint, the buildable footprint for the pavement that'll actually fit there while still maintaining all the stormwater ponds on Dave Henziak's property. Right now, we're currently looking at 18,000 square feet commercial flex building and having, trying to put the overhead doors on the back front of house, you know, that would be facing Court Crossing, Cottage Grove Road. So what I've included in the packet is essentially a similar project with, you know, the overhead doors in the rear and the kind of storefront type of look there on the main roads. And then I'll let Dave talk to kind of, you know, tenants.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this type of building is we've been working with Oprah Corporation. So we changed the broker that we're using for this project. And they have a lot of experience with buildings like this, bringing in a larger range of tenants to communities like ours, where they can take 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet. It's more economical for them. And it's almost like an incubator, you know, so they move into this space. It gives them the opportunity to grow their business. And then a lot of times these tenants will find other sites to develop because they need a larger footprint. The image that Charlie put together here, this was a project that they did in the past. We're not looking for like not necessarily the colors here. It would be blended really well with Dave Henziak's site to give it that modern look. What's interesting about this type of building is compared to the previous building that we talked about is with the additional square footage. I actually have 2 Madison businesses that we would move into this space that would take about 20% of the building. A lot of the inquiries that we had with the previous site, you know, we had there was a builder that had a lot of interest. I mean, there was a list of people, but just with the cost per square foot that we would have to lease this for, it really outpriced a lot of folks to move into this building, or the building that was approved. So, like, we're very optimistic about this project. We think that it could serve the community really well.
I guess we'll just look for feedback now from the group, but obviously, you know, we already know landscaping, lighting. Before there was the concern traffic for the drive-through, you know, we are eliminating those things there. And then just because it is a flex building, that's why we do have the amount of pavement. But like I said, those numbers are already taken care of in the stormwater.
I think it's appropriate being next to New Tech like that, and if you're going to use the same type of materials that you were showing on this example, I think it would be a good fit. And I agree. I know Kevin Metcalf tried very hard to anchor down some tenants retail-wise numerous times and just couldn't do it. And I can see where this would be a better fit and easier to lease and consistent with the New Tech site.
I would agree.
I agree as well.
I guess my one thing is, you know, you're just showing the examples here, and I know from New Tech, but I also want to just worth mentioning, since it is on our main street, and it's not really like a semi-industrial area, so I know you want to make it fit in with the aesthetic we're looking for, on Cottage Grove Road. I think it has great visibility for businesses there. But just when you're developing the final plans, and just ask that you keep that in mind, that, the standard that we all want for the frontage on Cottage Grove Road.
Yeah, and to speak to that, in architecture, you try and look at the site, you look at surrounding buildings. We designed the 2 surrounding buildings. We're aware of the concerns of the neighborhood. So that's definitely something we'll do. Materiality, we always put together, like a color board for you so you can see what we're using. Just like you can see here, there's a mixture of that. So we anticipate looking at First Choice Dental and New Tech.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. So that's, definitely something that, I've talked to people about and making sure we maintain it. And I think you guys have been doing a good job. So thank you.
My only comment is, this is a nice plan, nice switch of it. I think the market here is ripe, and obviously, Dave, you're probably doing a lot more research than what we hear, but there isn't a lot of space like this, incubator space or space for someone to kind of grow their business. So clearly, you're heading in the right direction as far as that goes. Other questions, comments for Dave and Charlie?
Did you say how many spaces would be in the building, or how many, the range that there could be, depending how you divide it up?
I mean, typically, what we think is going to happen is someone's going to want, there may be 1 or 2 people that are going to want, 25 or, 33% of the building. So we think there's a good likelihood that, half the building might be taken with 1 tenant. But I'll call them kind of like the bays would be right around that 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. So as a developer, I don't want 9 tenants in the site, but I think 4 to 6 tenants will probably land in a project like this.
And I guess the other question then is, based on the new proposed thing here, and obviously you're just here for comment only, do you kind of have a timeline then? Obviously you're going to have to go through some approval here. But.
Yeah, this would be definitely a project in the spring, that we'd want to do. I know it's part of the TID, and there's a timeline on that, really like pushing this project ahead. But yeah, it's definitely something that, we'd want to get approval this winter, and then, have everything lined up, for spring to start building.
Other questions or feedback for Dave?
Go for
it. I think the commission member just said, see you next month. So I guess that means Charlie got some work to do. Yeah, you're working over Christmas.
Yeah, we're excited about this and appreciate the positive feedback, for sure. So.
Yeah, we've been through the process with you before, and I think that's why we are excited. And I'm not just saying this, it's nice to work with your village. It's a nice change from Madison. A little more challenges there.
All right, if there's no other feedback from the commission members, have a good night, guys. Yeah. Next, then we have future agenda items for our next plan commission in January. Aaron, you want to touch on anything?
I guess we'll see how fast Charlie can draw. We have some ordinance things hanging out there. Was kind of tied up with some library parking issues, so I guess we'll see what the library discussion goes on Monday and whether that continues to be a topic or not. Lakewood will presumably come in eventually, but I don't think in January. Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
Okay. All right.
Motion to
Hey,
adjourn.
Aaron, why are we wasting our time with library stuff until we've heard from the public as to what the public wants, if they want a library or not?
Troy, it's not on the
I guess
agenda.
I'm a bit confused.
Troy,
I
it's not
thought
on
we
the
were very
agenda.
clear.
Yep. I know, it's not an agenda. It's not, so.
Well, but
you can come
we're
on
talking about
Monday.
future agenda,
Yeah.
and I don't want to waste my time with future agenda stuff that has nothing to do until we hear from the public
Okay, thank you.
with a referendum.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, 2 seconds. It's non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
everybody.
So developer agreement they have?
We don't have a signed one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's convenient.
So they wanted to change some assessed values and things like that, so we'll see.